could live streaming be made possibly easier with some new features added to Ecamm? Here's some stuff kicking around on the rumour mills and the wish list. Time-saving tools, so you need less reliance on external graphics. This is going to be great if you've got a low-end Mac. Also, some extra features if you've got a high-end Mac. So something for everybody, power users or not, and even remote producers. Super cool new feature would be a default location for all the branding. Now, this isn't what I would call a global setting, because somebody will think it'll affect all the streams. So these would change profile to profile. The idea is, once you've created your perfect profile, so you've got all the right colors, your brand is in there, and if you want to duplicate it, the idea is when you duplicate your profile, all you've got to do now is just go back to this one control panel and then change the relevant colors and logos. So by doing that, all that new profile you've just duplicated has all been rebranded with the new colors and the new logo, and you haven't had to do anything. So basically you could create so even if you wanted different colors of streams and all that kind of stuff, you could duplicate it, change what you needed to, duplicate it again and change what you needed to, and all that would be done from this one control panel once you've got your more or less perfect stream setup. So the idea would be, so initially colors, so we've got our primary and secondary branding colors, and a complementary and base colors plus a few accents. Now in the comments, let us know if there is enough colors in there. The idea would be you're not going to be locked in, so this would be the profile default set for that one you've just created. So if for some reason you've got 15 colors, you can add more colors using the normal Ecamm way. The idea is how many logos would we need for the basic stream, how many colors would we need for a brand, and the fonts. So that way, if somebody's now producing these as a service for a customer, which I could possibly be doing, the idea is I can now duplicate it, change what I need to do, and then I'm done. Now, if you think you need any more colors, leave it in the comments. How many colors, how many different fonts? Bearing in mind, you are not or the idea is you wouldn't be constrained to this. So if you do need to add more elements with different colors and different fonts, you can do it in the normal way. This is for somebody who's trying to do it so everything fits within the one control panel. So again, in this one, let us know in the comments. So they're moving through the idea of obviously your logos. There'll be your normal branded color logos, and then we've got a white one. It could be a dark one, a black one, a gray one, depending to the colors of your streams, and then the necessary bugs. Again, I haven't uploaded a color one, but you could also have a color one. Obviously these are not my brand colors. I've just put these in because I'm going to show you another effect in a moment. And then obviously the relevant fonts. Now what I'm going to duplicate the profile, and then I'm going to turn on a new brand. Now almost instantly I've rebranded all the colors to this new brand I'll operate, and then suddenly everything that was created is now being recolored. That live stream, if I've got 10 or 15 scenes, they've all been recolored to the new brand. Now the way this would work, and I've got no illustration for this, is basically there would be a drag and drop designer. So if you're creating an element and you want to use your logo, you would drag your logo from the designed console, so that way you're not referencing multiple versions of your logo. All of this is based on variables. So the idea would be, if I bring an element, a text element on the screen, and I want that to be in the orange of the accent color, I would either pick that from the color control panel and it would say my accent color for that profile, or I can drag and drop that color onto that text, that element, that graphic. So the whole idea is that we don't do things separately, we do it through a design panel. That way, when we do make these updates, everything is updated globally across all the different scenes. So that's the idea of the default profile guide. And another thing to go with that is obviously if you've created things like call outs that are used in things like social media and stuff like that, and obviously if you duplicate it, that's all going to be wrong because it's going to reference the other brand. Now, a solution to fix that. So that solution would be default show profile callouts, or if you can come up with another good name, let us know in the comments. So the idea of that is it would be like the title of this the show, the stream or whatever, obviously the host, and the title of the host. If you don't use any of these elements, obviously you're not going to drag them or reference them into the call outs or the graphics or the overlays you create. And obviously if you've got a second host, say you do a show and you've always got two hosts, then you can put them in there. The idea is that when you duplicate it, if you're the same two people, then you don't have to change anything. If you're on a show where you've got a different host, all you're going to do is change that host name, and anything that's referenced to that host name in your new profile and all the scenes you've created are all updated. Obviously, if you've got different brands, you may be operating different web addresses. So the idea is any social media and all of that kind of stuff would be in this profile or the call out box, and this would get duplicated and changed on each profile. Again, probably in the comments, let us know what list of social media should be listed almost as default. Okay, here's a display we all know. I've gone with a muted blue so the elements can be seen. This moving pink background is not actually video. This is CSS and HTML. So Ecamm has the facility so you can pull in externally URLs which has got assets in there, and also locally. So if that HTML is created locally, you can do that. So I'm not suggesting everybody learn some coding and stuff like that. I just want to throw some features at you which some people may or may not know are available and which could be built into the Ecamm to make things a bit easier for everybody. So this pink background is HTML. You can do overlays, which Building Blocks would love. This is just HTML and some CSS. This is the moving. You can see the Ecamm logos at the back, and that is just HTML and CSS. Now, if I bring this file is stored locally on this machine, and as you can see, the logos go in the full width of that. And if I wanted the logo to be 50, again, I'm not suggesting everybody takes up learning CSS. And if I save that, file save, almost instantly it will react. And again, that could be if that's external on a website and stuff like that. I use quite a lot of this externally. So that's the power of CSS. Now, how can we use that in Ecamm? Oh, I also wanted to show you some of these as well. So again, that's just CSS, and so is that the overlay. So you can do fancy stuff like that, which I know Building Blocks is after shapes and stuff like that. So if we flick back to the background builder, a potential new feature. So okay, the background builder, what could we do with that if we had one? So basically the idea that it would be a simple background. You can either choose a single color. The idea of this, again, this would be part of when you duplicate the profile and you create different profiles and different shows. The styling which you've created would also be mirrored on the new one until you changed it. So again, with CSS, I mean, you can do all kinds of things. So I'm not suggesting, which would be nice, if we had animated backgrounds, which we can pull. If you wanted to, you can pull this through the web widgets. But if you wanted something more simple, what about a background designer? So the idea, the way this would work is we have a simple grad there, a gradient. We could have a linear one, so if we wanted it linear. And the idea of this is if we used our profiles, so I would just drag this blue to here and this pink to here, and that would give me the grad. Now, when I duplicate this profile and change the colors to another brand, the background would change accordingly. But what about, and everybody likes 4-color one, what happens if we selected 4, move the relevant colors, so yellow would be dragged to there, red would be dragged to there, or we could press the pill and then we select it from our profile as the first option, and then we select the relevant colors, and then we've got our grad. We can also change if we want it linear or radial, and also the degree, so we can move the grad angle. So that's the idea of the background builder. Nice and simple, be an easy thing, and then obviously we could set that as the default, and then as we duplicate profiles, we know each one has got a lovely background already sorted. A couple of other features, SVGs as shapes. These can be used as overlays, or you could use them to build up part of your background as well. But the idea of that is they're scalable images, so they'll be perfect vertical, or obviously wide if you're doing a 4K. So they're scalable, they'll be pin sharp, and when you drag the relevant or select the relevant SVG, then you can just pick the relevant pill you want, whatever color, and then again, this will be part of your global profile asset color. So when you change or duplicate your profile, the overlays would also change accordingly. So once you've got your perfect scenes and everything's all colored right, perfect for the brand, you might just want to check that you haven't missed anything. You haven't got a scene where there's no mic or stuff like that. Again, you don't need to do this for every live. It's just maybe just check that new profile. Is basically you could do a pre-flight check, particularly before you're going to duplicate it and then duplicate the same error. And so now you can turn on a pre-flight. This may be part of the same window, doesn't necessarily have to be a separate window, but depending what settings you may have selected in your preferences, the pre-flight will warn you if there is no mic in that scene, or if there's a video input which was referenced and is no longer in that scene. So then suddenly you'll get an easy indication that this first scene is something not present, and this other scene is the microphone. Basically, it's on mute throughout the entire scene. Now that might be what you want, and maybe there'll be a facility for you to say yes, no, don't tell me about it. I know about it. Leave us in the comment if you find that useful. But it's just like a pre-flight check. I know I used to do this before I sent stuff onto print design. It would do a pre-flight check to make sure everything is correct before I printed thousands of leaflets. So that could be something quite useful. Okay, on to preferences. The only problem with all these new features, and new features we're all going to probably ask in the future, it's a bit like a buffet, and we all enjoy going to a buffet. The only problem is too many times at the buffet and too much stuff is not too good for us. Same with the efficiency and the performance of software. The more stuff we add, the more likely we're going to impact on performance. So one of the things would be to have things where we select, no, we don't need that gets turned off. So if customers don't need certain elements, obviously if nobody needs it, they're not going to be included. But if somebody doesn't need a particular thing, it could be turned off or on depending to their requirements. And obviously if they've got a bigger spec machine, like in this example here on the I've shown that there may be an option. Imagine multi-stream and then interactivity through Ecamm's back channel, through pupils and all that kind of stuff. But that might not be able to happen on a regular Mac. So you might need a studio grade Mac for that to work. So SVGs we've already covered. One of the features I have here that could be selected would be Font Awesome. I know Anna and Fulgence would like that. The other week they were looking for a pair of scissors. And if they had the Font Awesome feature, that could be turned on as a font, and they could bring that in as an element. Like that. So if you haven't seen Anna and Fulgence, they're on Building Blocks. I'll leave a link to them in the description below, especially if you want to make some fancy overlays for your Ecamm videos. A feature that might be worth having is a test strip or a test card. As more and more people are getting Macs without the official Apple display, the difference in colors on different screens and different displays is going to be quite high. So I added this is about 8-9 years old now. I added this to the bottom of the photography site, so if somebody had an issue, they could say okay, yeah, I can see the black but I can't see the white, those different shades of white, much the same what we used to have back in the day, test cards. So particularly useful for remote guests, but also somebody is using multiple screens and trying to calibrate their settings off the wrong screen if it's not being calibrated. So yes, you could bring your own in, but this is more a little step thing, particularly if you bring in a guest and they can make sure they see all those shades before adjusting things like their cameras and stuff like that. Maybe their screen's wrong. So that would be the test card feature. The last one is this accessible media. Now, I remember my uncle many years ago, as he's lying there saying, Michael, with great power comes great responsibility. Oh, what do you mean great power, great responsibility? He said word art had a major impact. Some of the stuff was ugly. I mean, newsletters, as you can see, I don't know if anybody remembers this, newsletters and church letters all over the world probably put people off from coming because the art was terrible. There's a feature that could be turned on to aid us not doing the same mistake as kind of word art stuff for the modern era. So it's a thing I'll go into in a different video. So if you tap subscribe and turn on the bell notification, I'll cover that in another video.